Hey everyone, and welcome to Recipe for Success, brought to you by Junior Achievement of South Florida. I am Laurie Sallarulo, the president and CEO of the organization, and I just absolutely love this opportunity to bring you leaders and entrepreneurs who share their story and share the ingredients to their success. And so for those of you who have been watching for a while, you know we usually come live out of the kitchen at JA World. We have not been live since we went into isolation, but we have been broadcasting from my kitchen. But we thought it would be fun to take it live again so that you could interact and talk with our guests and ask them questions and find out more about what you want to know. So with that, I am so thrilled to introduce this morning's guest, who really is such an amazing representation of what Junior Achievement does. It's all about teaching those skill sets that get you through tough times in life. It's about entrepreneurship and starting businesses and figuring out how to make it on your own. And so this morning, I am thrilled to welcome Arminda Figueroa, but we call her Mindy. And she is the founder and CEO of Latin2Latin Marketing and Communications, L2L. And so with that, I am going to have Mindy join us. How are you?
Good. I'm doing great. And I'm so excited to be here with you, Laurie. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you. I think we got the orange, pink, coral memo this morning.
I know, and the glasses, all 9 yards.
Exactly. So first of all, how are you? How are you personally doing through all of this? I can see you working in your home. Just give me a little update on how you are.
First of all, I'm blessed. I bless you. And I'm really thrilled that I have the opportunity to share some of the stuff that we've been doing. Obviously, this has been a tremendous change for everybody, right? But the most important thing is, when you are in the zone, when you are focused on what you do and your core values, then how do you implement them, whether you're remote or whether you're at the office, etc. I'm doing fantastic. I am blessed to be alive, healthy. Yes, in quarantine, we're going into our 6th week. Before it became a mandate, we decided, our family decided across the board, both here in North Carolina and Puerto Rico, where are my immediate family, to go into quarantine. And I immediately sent everybody home. We have been a virtual company, or half a virtual company, for 13 years. So this is not new for us. So the minute that things were getting a little bit out of control, we turned the switch. We closed the office in downtown Fort Lauderdale, and everybody's been working from home, and it's been magnificent. We huddle, we get together once a week, and we now implemented a reflection, half an hour, so everybody in the team talks about keywords that they represent something meaningful today. We're shared. That's the way we start the week. So we're doing fantastic.
That is amazing. I think those people who were doing virtual, not even necessarily remote working, but at least already knew the tools, had the tools. I think they got a little bit of a jump start. So that's great to hear. So in the marketing and communications world, Mindy, right? You and I talked a little bit. I spent many years in advertising in New York. And so advertising, public relations, communications, marketing has changed so much, right, over the years. And so how has a time like this, has there been a shift in how you are meeting the marketing needs and communication needs of your clients?
Absolutely. If somebody says no, they're living in a different bubble or something. Absolutely. So first of all, you have to, if you go back to 10 years ago or 11 years ago for the last recession in 2008, if you look historically, the people that survived were the people that are still relevant to their audience, the people that were doing some type of activity. Some people cut immediately marketing dollars, and those that didn't and continued to have a dialogue and control the dialogue were the ones who came back faster and stronger. So if we take that historical learning from there and we apply it to today's activities, this is the way to go. We're working, I mean, the current clients that have stayed active with us, it's tremendous. We're constantly having these conversations. How do we become relevant to the current environment? How do we communicate? And most importantly, how do you, in a way, lead the conversation? You can't control things around you. We can't control what's happening, but we can lead the conversation. We can add value. We can share experiences. We can say, listen, don't look at everything in there, that is negative. Let's look at the positive. Provide tips, provide activities. I have a client that services the 55 plus community, and the first thing that they did was take care of the residents. And then after that, it was about what are we going to do under this new normal? Let's still be who we are. We have fun. We teach people. We educate. We communicate, and we taught them, or they taught them technology. They taught them how to stay connected with a loved one, and that's reinventing themselves. That's redefining senior living.
Yeah, I think you're so right. It's making sure that I love that add value and lead the conversation, right? So important. And I think we're seeing more of that. I know on social media for sure.
Yeah.
We're seeing a lot of that. It's interesting because you talked about the 55 plus. I'm wondering, are they adjusting to this new world, right? Because every demographic group is adjusting to this a little differently, right? Our kids are now being introduced to other platforms, to Zoom, to Teams, right? Not just us out in the workforce, but our young people, right, which are the people we serve. Right. They're all being introduced to new platforms, just like those over 55. How are they adjusting?
So I think if we take a spectrum, right, of different age cohorts. So let's talk about the 55 plus. Absolutely. I mean, of course, there's going to be resistance. Some people are going to stumble into it. They're going to feel intimidated and so forth. But I think for the majority, they have had to. They have been forced to understand what technology can do and still connect us. They are able to see their loved ones, are able to do social media, to do Zoom, to do all type of different video conferences, and that it has no price, right? And then on the other hand, let's talk about the young individuals, which I actually, my passion about what you're doing is, because I used to belong from when I used to being in Puerto Rico, I participated in the JA programs, and that's how, in a way, my entrepreneurship started getting molded. Although I thought that I was an entrepreneur since I was born, but that's a different story.
It's in your blood.
Totally.
There is that age-old question of whether entrepreneurs are born, right, or made. So yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, I'll touch on that in a moment, but let me just talk about the young generation. I have always believed that when I started my business, that was part of my mission, that I wanted to bring young people, whether they were in high school or they were graduated, to come and get an opportunity to understand what is the real world, not textbook, but the real world in entrepreneurship. And so from the very beginning, for the 13 years, I always have different type of internship programs. I have had interns that became essential, employees of Latin2Latin, and I have others interns that went on when they came here to work with us. They changed their mindset, so they decided to go to define why they wanted to go into business, and they started doing some amazing stuff, selling stuff. It's two kids in particular that are the sons of one of my friends, my best friends, and every summer they spent with me, and we had so much fun seeing how they transition and what skills as they learn with presentation skills, writing skills, reading a group of people presenting and all that, and that was for me priceless.
Yeah, and it's one of the things that we do at Junior Achievement. Actually, our Junior Achievement area or chapter, as you might say, is the only one in the globe actually, after the kids are finished with the programs, putting them into jobs. Absolutely. And so we see not only do they gain value, right? They've gone through 8 months of training to be prepared to be in your workplace, but then they bring value that I think most of our employers have been so pleasantly surprised by. These young people are very, very bright. They've gone through this program. They know how to solve problems, and they've got wonderful ideas. And so kudos to you for being so open to that. And I know you and I talked, and so I already told my team that you are going to be taking hopefully some interns this summer, but I hope that other employers follow that. You know, that let's touch on that internship thing. You said that, yes, you think you were born that way, but talk a little bit for a second about, you said you went through junior achievement programming as a young person. Was there a spark? Was that part of what, right, where you said, you know what, I always wanted to do this, but now I know I can do it?
Yeah, there's a couple of things to that. First of all, I think when I said I was born into it, etc., let me go back to my upbringing. My grandparents in Puerto Rico, from paternal grandparents, started a gas station in Puerto Rico, in Guaynabo, where we're from. And I, as a child, used to go to the gas station and see how they were operating. And at one point, I was eager to go and pump gas and understand what that meant to not only service by pumping gas, grabbing their exchange, of money, going to inside the store with my grandmother was the one who was handling the cash registers. You not.
It's always the way it is in Latin families.
Absolutely. My grandmother wouldn't miss a beat. So she will exchange, give me the change. I will go rushing back to give the exchange because there was no credit cards at that time. So, and it was a thank you. It was like the smile of the people that were like in awe, like, what are these little girls, my sister and I, pumping gas? And people were asking, what are you doing that? And my grandparents were like, they want to do it, number one. Number two, why not? They're learning the business.
And you're learning work ethic. Right?
Exactly. So it built work ethic, it built community, it built a sense of understanding how my grandparents that never finished even grammar school, 8th grade, they were able to become entrepreneurs, and socially, from a financial social perspective, they became an upper middle class family, and they traveled the world, and they put two sons through school, one becoming a doctor, the other one becoming a professional. And then my father, you could say that he became an entrepreneur. And the same thing on my mother's side. My mother always reinvented herself. My mother has been one of my business partners for 13 years on the business on Latin2Latin. So that was my environment. However, when I went to junior achievement, I think that what I learned was, first of all, to know how to present your ideas, how to understand what the business case was, why you were doing what we're doing, and to sophisticate your approach to things, and to get feedback from other people that will have more experience than you do, and more wisdom, and then being able to apply that and to humble yourself, because sometimes at young age we believe that we know it all. That was me. And what happens is that sometimes you need to be grounded, and you need to be told, this is the process, this is what you have to wait, this is why you have to build this business in this following steps.
Yeah, and I think you're right. The mentorship piece of that is so important. Even till this day, I mean, I know that you are big on growing, continuing to grow and learning and having mentors and talking with people about their business. Yes, sometimes we're going to do things our own way, and we may fall or we may succeed, but that's how we learn, right? And so I'm all about it. In your bio, it talks about that you authored a book called An Entrepreneur's Guide to Surviving a Business Implosion. Yeah. When you and I talked, you shared with me an experience of another time in your business when things in the economy didn't go very well, and talk a little bit about how you came out of that, right? How did you go into it? And then what were the couple of things that helped you come out of it?
Absolutely. In every business and every entrepreneur, that if you don't have peaks and valleys, then you're not really an entrepreneur. You're an employee or of another company and so forth. So for me, when I first started, I started my business in 2007. And then right at the end of 2007, We were starting the Great Depression of 2008. So for me, I was starting from zero. So, anything that went up, a blip, was a great win. So that was my mentality, right? So during that particular time, I was starting to build my business, and I had some employees that were working with me. When things got really tough, we huddled, we talked about it. We said, look, it's either we all go out unemployment, or we cut down, or we work within the revenue that we have coming in, and we'll split it. We'll do whatever we need to do, and so that everybody has at least something coming in. And there was an amazing, that for me was such a life-changing experience, that people were willing to do that and so forth, and that worked. So the minute that things started working out, within the next year or so, people were compensated accordingly. Fast forward in the middle of, let's say, probably my fifth year, I lost 3 accounts at the same time, all for different reasons. Some people move on, some clients move up to other projects, and then the current projects were canceled. The good thing is that those people that moved to other projects, they pull us back in, but that took 6 months, sort of adjustment. Same thing again. We talk to everybody. We're transparent. We tell them we're in this together, or we got to figure something out. And when you have that kind of discussion with the people and culture, it changes the way that your business is going to succeed or not. Now, 2 years ago, it was interesting because I have surpassed my goals of 7-digit mark. As a small entrepreneur, minority-owned business, it's like your goal is to surpass the $1 million mark. We doubled that. We were like, woohoo, this is fantastic. With that kind of growth, exponential growth, that it was unparalleled. We hired people. There was 23 people working with us. There were different activities. I was growing to different markets. I was going different places, and I identified someone very fast, and that's what a mistake I made. That I didn't have a solid succession plan. That's when my first learning there. So I didn't have a succession plan, and goes like, well, succession plans is when you're going to die. It's like, no, succession plans happens with anything. You have to have a backup plan. Let's do something. I get sick. Something happens. For this business to continue, I have to have a successor that is going to take the business to the next level. So my first mistake was that. So I talk about that in the book, and I talk about the mistakes I did as a leader, not to understand how to pick the right person to lead the agency and take them to the next level, and my myopia for focusing on the growth of the business. It was like such a how, like I've made it. I'm doing 7 digits, and this is like, on top of the world, etc. And you know what, though? That was a rude awakening for me. There's no money in the world, let me tell you, that can really pay for going back to the basics and understanding your core values. And I had to come to Jesus' moment where I had to come back and say, you know what, though, I made this mistake. This created havoc in my environment with my people. It changed the culture of my company. I couldn't have a transparent conversation with the people because they didn't understand the truth. It was too harsh for them to say, okay, we were here, we were there, but you're not doing what you're supposed to do as a teammate. And when that happens, you have to start from scratch. So I got rid of people. Some people left on their own, and I started from zero again, pretty much. I mean, I safeguarded some companies. I fired clients. Believe me, I fired clients, and it was the most liberating experience of my life. But at the same time, that had financial consequences.
Right.
So for me, it has been an amazing experience to share that with people, because we all make mistakes. An important thing is how do you pivot and how you then come back to basics.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, 2 really good points that I just took away from what you shared is, sometimes we grow, and when we grow, we lose sight of the core values, right? And so making sure, especially at a time like this is such a good time for us to to get back to those values and build that trust and that respect within your team. Because if that isn't strong right now, right, I think you're absolutely right. The business will not get through it. And then the second part, as leaders, we're so often threatened by the idea of a succession plan, right? But you're absolutely right. I mean, someday I want to retire. So who's going to take over down the road? Or if I should decide, or if something happened to me, like you said, it's not a bad thing. It's not about replacing the person. It's about being prepared. Right. Succession planning is just part of preparation. And right. So those are just two amazing, amazing thoughts. So I always ask this question towards the end of our interview, and that is, what is the main ingredient to your success?
I think there's a couple. Based on my conversations with my team, I think there's the level of emotional intelligence that is critical, especially at this time of the year of what we're going through. Emotional intelligence is how do you connect with the people? How do you make them feel in the environment that you have created, and understanding about their hopes, their fears, and their dreams. And it's part of our mission statement that we need to really understand and internalize those first among each other. My team is, for me, the number one, and that was part of my core value that I lost sight 2 years ago. So now that's back again. That's part of my DNA. So it's understanding how they're feeling, what are their hopes, what are their fears, and what are the dreams, so that I can create or help create that environment. I cannot make anybody come in and wake up in the morning and want to work. That has to come from within. But I can understand what are their drivers, so that by providing opportunities, challenges, etc., where we can get to their end result. I think the other thing is transparency. And I mentioned this again, that had happened right now in 3 waves, right? So, in 2008, in middle of the road, and then most recently, I had to tell my team, we have certain clients, but we don't know how long it's going to take. What are we going to do if plan A doesn't work, plan B, and plan C? And let me tell you something, everybody has been unbelievably understanding, and they're like, we're not going anywhere, whatever it takes, we're going to be here. And that, you can't put a price tag to that. Yeah. So I think those 2 elements are the key.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that's so key, understanding, especially that first one. I think, understanding your team and their needs. And I love, I think this virtual meeting and the huddles, right, and the team meetings, doing them like this, I think we're connecting even on a deeper level with our teams than we do when we're in the office, and we might be there in person, but we're not spending that quality time having these conversations that we're having today. And I think as a leader, it's so important that we share our feelings, that they understand that we are frightened, right? That we might be uncertain about what's happening and we don't have all the answers, and that as a team, hopefully we will pull through this. I cannot thank you enough for sharing and your ingredients and your story. It's amazing. And I think, that reminder to stay true to your values and to the team, because those are the 2 of the most important things we can do in our businesses and in our lives, right? Whether it's your team or your family. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being a Junior Achievement fan and part of our family, and for your openness to training and accepting our internships. I hope for those out there that you heard Mindy talking about the experience that she had with internships. We do have students that we will be placing this summer, and we will be paying their salaries. So these are young people who have been trained and can come in, help you with projects, help you with idea generation, and you will be pleasantly surprised at what they can do. And so, Mindy, I know you and I will stay in touch and we will talk. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself and your family and your team, and be well, my friend.
Same thing to you, Laurie. I can't wait to hire, or to have the first hire of Junior Achievement. Michael, Robin, and I, we were talking about it the other day, and we're like, yes, we're going to do that. Absolutely. So we can't wait. We'll have a great project coming up. So
awesome. Awesome. They will love it. Have an amazing day, everyone. Thank you for watching. And if you have any questions for Mindy, you can certainly reach out to us. And we will. Mindy, you're open to people connecting?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Perfect. And that's the idea, bringing these leaders to you so that you can connect with them and hear more about their stories and get their advice. So everyone stay safe and have an amazing day.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.